Thank you so much, everyone. Apologies for that glitch. Mr. Fadmi Falana is still with me on the program. Thank you so much, Mr. Falana, for staying with us. I was going to ask you, because the Presidential Election Tribunal resumed today, just before we get into a major conversation. I'd like to know your view, because there are those who are agitated. They went outside of the courtroom today. They were asking that that case should be fully dispensed with before the swearing in of Bola Tinubu. What do you make of that position?
So, I think some of our colleagues, with profound respect, are causing confusion. The law is there. Section 285 of the Constitution prescribes 180 days for dealing with election petitions at the Court of Appeal. If there is an appeal, you have additional 60 days. So altogether, you are talking of 8 months. In the case of governors, governorship elections, governorship election petitions, you are talking of 10 months, 180 days in the tribunal, 60 days in the Court of Appeal, and 60 days in the Supreme Court. If people are saying that we should go back to the drawing table, deploy and use technology properly, then we can amend the Constitution to allow election petitions to be disposed of within 2 or 3 weeks. But whereas in this case, the petitioner did not file their petition until 21 days after the election. So you can't be talking of 7 days or 14 days. But again, as I said, after this exercise, we can go back to the drawing table and amend the Constitution and the Electoral Act to allow for a situation whereby you don't even go to the Court of Appeal. If you are talking of presidential election petition, as it is the case in Ghana or Kenya, you simply go to the Supreme Court. Up to 2011, governorship election petitions were never handled by the Supreme Court. So I think this experience should really inform some concrete amendment of the Constitution. But that can only be anchored on a proper deployment of technology. And what I mean is that if you have the Beavers machine deployed, and you have the Beavers report, and results of elections are transmitted to the central server of the INEC. So we should be talking of 2 reports. Those are the reports that should be taken to the tribunal. But in this case, witnesses, the petitioners are calling witnesses. The respondents are calling witnesses, including the electoral body. After which, of course, the witnesses are going to be cross-examined. It is after the hearing of each of the petitions that the parties will be invited to write written submissions, submit them to the courts, and then have a day to adopt them before the judges will retire to consider the addresses and the evidence led in court. Under the current electoral regime, law regime, you cannot abridge the time. In this case, you are talking of about 5 petitions, 5 election petitions. And every petitioner wants to have a field day in court. So we need to really
Mr. Falana, let me quickly ask you, there was a request by Atiku and the PDP asking the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal to televise the proceedings. The Constitution provides that the proceedings in the court should be a public affair. Well, what do you make of that kind of request based on the interest of the public and the sensitivity of the matter at hand?
So, I had expressed my opinion on this matter a couple of months ago. Now, an application has just been made to the court. I cannot preempt the court. I cannot.
Okay. So,
I cannot.
But Mr. Falana, quickly, because I need to take you quickly on the statement you made today about the BRICS Commission and the dollarization of the Nigerian economy. You have your fear. You think that the IMF and these global institutions are trying to sabotage and have a dominance on our economy. But quickly, based on public interest, what are your expectations of the judiciary in these proceedings that began today?
Now, come again. My expectation
of the judiciary, based on the fact that a lot of Nigerians are looking at the details, perhaps for the first time more critically than we've ever seen, on the proceeding in the Presidential Election Tribunal. What are your expectations? What do you think that the judiciary should be looking into in dispensing justice in this matter?
I think the presiding justice, the Honorable Justice Amani, they made the point today that the court will not give room for undue technicalities or crass legalism. I think that is commendable. I'm very convinced that justice will be done. The parties will have to adduce evidence to support their claims. And once that is done, of course, the respondents will also challenge the evidence of the petitioners. And once that is done, I'm very convinced that justice will be done.
Let me take you to the economy matter, because when I saw that statement, I was worried. You have alleged economic sabotage between the Central Bank of Nigeria and the likes of the IMF. Is this a deliberate economic sabotage of some persons to have a dollar domination on Nigerian economy? And what are the consequences? Is there any major danger to the Nigerian people?
Seun, just before I attend to your question, I wish to react to the claim of Senator Ifeanyi that he should be credited, he should be commended for the amendment of Deep Offshore Production Contracts Act. With profound respect, I started that campaign in 2015. The records are there. By 2019, I submitted, with the assistance of Dr. Clinton Higihaga, I drafted a bill for the amendment of that act. And the bill was adopted by the Senate under the presidency of Dr. Bukola Saraki, but the Senate could not complete the exercise. Hence, the current Senate had to, pick up the battle where it was left. So I drafted the bill. It was the bill that was adjusted by the current Senate. So I don't think it would be fair. I'm just to put the record straight. Now, coming back to the dollarization of the economy, I have been fighting the current leadership of the central bank for turning the Nigerian economy into a kalo-kalo affair. The central bank is superintended, is supervised by the IMF and World Bank. And their position, the position of the Bretton Woods institutions, is that the Naira is overvalued and that the Naira should be completely destroyed. The central bank supports such neoliberal, very dangerous neoliberal policy. And that is why Section 20 of the Central Bank Act, which provides that the legal tenders in Nigeria shall be currency notes issued by the central bank as well as coins. But today, the dollar is spent in Nigeria. Landlords collect rents in dollars in certain parts of the country. School fees are paid in dollars. And I have fought the central bank. Under what law have you allowed people, the economy to be dollarized? And the central bank has pleaded with me, oh, we are going to react to your position very soon. And that's taking some months. Now, what I'm now saying is that the world is moving. Along our campaign, the BRICS, and I'm talking of Brazil, India, South Africa, China, and India, BRICS, that body is now campaigning that it is going to have an international currency to challenge the dollar. About 24 countries have applied to join the body in their next summit that will take place in South Africa. I'm simply asking, what is the position of Nigeria? Have we reduced ourselves to the footnote of history as far as international affairs are concerned? When you look at Section 19E of the Constitution, it provides that it shall be the duty of the government of Nigeria to promote a new international economic order, and that is the one before us, i.e., that we have no business selling our oil and gas and other products in dollars. No business. We are supposed to ask the buyers to pay in naira so that you can show up your currency. And that is what Russia is doing currently. China is doing the same currently. India is doing that. They are trading in rubles and rupees. And why can we not trade in naira?
Mr. Falano.
5 years ago. 5 years ago. Yes, please.
Yeah, I wanted to jump in to say, now, the Dangote refinery, we understand that we officially get off the ground, it will start operations, and President Buhari will probably be on that ground to commission it. That's some good news, especially for the consumption of oil. Now that you've mentioned it, most of the monies that we spent in Nigeria as a government is also on this importation and exportation of crude and bringing it back into the country. Now, what would you be, because Buhari is going out, Tinubu will be coming in, what do you think is most important, especially for the government that is coming in this very matter that is troubling?
You see, before the Buhari regime was, it is important to let Nigeria know that we have investment in the Dangote refinery. Nigeria invested $2.7 billion in that refinery. In addition, 300,000 barrels of crude oil will be given to the refinery per day. The agreement has not been published, but those are the highlights. Secondly, the Buhari administration very belatedly had earmarked $1.5 billion to fix the Port Harcourt refinery. We understand the refinery will come on stream this year. For Warri and Kaduna refinery, the government has also paid contractors $1.4 billion. Now, when these refineries, you know, are turned around, and then with our investment in the Dangote refinery, I believe that the incoming government will have to set up an inquiry to find out why the government claims to have spent trillions of naira on importation of fuel, and that the bulk of the fuel imported is smuggled out of the country. But the Comptroller General of Customs, Colonel Hamid Ali, has said publicly that it is not possible for the bulk of 68 million liters of petrol to be smuggled out of the country daily. But you will need about 2,000 tankers to do that anyway. So the government will need to investigate the monumental fraud.
All right, Mr. Falano,
that has been our lot.
Yeah. So I'm being told I just have less than 60 seconds to go. Well, I mean, you raise a very fundamental issue here, Mr. Falano. Just in about 60 seconds, please. What would be your final thought on this, and perhaps what we urgently need to do?
I'm advising the government of Nigeria as soon as possible to join the BRICS, to apply to join the BRICS. Secondly, we must revive the currency swap between Nigeria and China that allows Nigerian business, men and women, to buy goods in China, in naira, while Chinese will also buy goods in Nigeria, in yuan. Now, in addition to that, Kenya has just signed an agreement with Aramco in Saudi Arabia to pay shillings for fuel imports. Kenya was spending $500 million per month to buy fuel, petrol, diesel. Now, that country has been allowed now to pay in shillings. We are also saying Nigeria selling oil and gas must now tell the buyers, pay naira to us and not dollars any longer.
All right. Mr. Falana,
that's our product.
Yeah. Thank you so much indeed for your time tonight. And I appreciate your intervention and your advocacy. And I hope somebody is listening. It is going to be in the interest of the Nigerian people. Thank you so much, Daniel Sig, for your time tonight and your industry.
Thank you very much.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Pleasure.
But our show tonight.